You infer. you- So infer is basically, I wonder if this means X, Y, Z. And insights are what are the actionable learnings? What are the things that you can take action upon? So not all the things are going to be, not all the things are going to be things जिसके ऊपर आप action ले सकते हैं. Maybe some things are beyond your control, but some things will be in your control जिसके ऊपर आप action ले सकते हैं. And you can eliminate the pain points of the user. So coming back to the General Electric story, right? So we heard from that child cancer patient that my brother gets to go to camp, but I can't go because of cancer. What did we observe? We observed that there were no trophies in her room, so she goes to her brother's room and she notices that वहाँ पर trophies हैं and she doesn't have any of the trophies. So that's what we observed, right? So essentially, she doesn't have that sense of adventure जो because of her disease, जो कि उसके भाई because he can go out, he can go out for camping, he has that sense of adventure, उसके पास नहीं है. So how do we provide her with that particular experience? So the idea is to focus on a meaningful challenge, and the way that we can do it is through this, right? So we met a critically ill 8-year-old child at a hospital. We were surprised to notice that she said that my brother gets to go to camp, but I can't go. Um, we wonder if this means that her illness sucks the adventure out of her childhood. It would be game changing to make her hospital scan experience feel like an adventure, right? So this is an entire process that we've kind of built around this small conversation, or it could seemingly be feel like a very ordinary conversation. उससे हमने एक पूरा process flow बनाया है कि there was a sick child, उसके ये pain points थे, based on her pain points, we feel like this is what she wants to achieve. And then it's also important to kind of look at insights as well, right? In terms of what are you surprised by, what are the possible insights that you can add over here. So it's important. So this is something in terms of the activity, right? So let's say, for example, अगर हम tax returns की बात कर रहे हैं, you have to infer things as well. There are things that maybe, let's say, conversation के अंदर उतना apparent ना हो, but how do you frame that opportunity is what's going to define you or define your solution in a better light, right? So just this is just to guide you guys in terms of the activities, right? So we need to infer insights, right? We have to craft 2 points of views. कि we were surprised by X, we were surprised by Y, and इसका जो है possible solution क्या हो सकता है. So this is something in terms of process design. This is something that we're going to be doing right as part of this. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask. But you need to find out if proper education is maybe we also got to that. उसके लिए हमें क्या था solution there's a solution now to उनके पास कोई आपका प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हैं that's where when we find the solution so that's why it's important that you understand what the customer is saying. उनका जितना भी आपको कुछ already when you are solving the right problem, it's not a problem. So these are the tools and the questions that you have to we live through water mass control side. So it was to be able to जो भी आपका पहला आइडिया होगा ना जो दुश्मन के फाइनल आइडिया you don't want क्या आप आइडिया आपको बताओ कि मेरा आइडिया बहुत जरूरी है if you're not making any money that's going to be more painful to you. It's better to abandon quickly and abandon an idea if it's not working in the market compared to if you keep waiting for it to for a miracle to happen. That's it. Um, is everyone done? I think we can start from this team. They've completed this and just wanted to share. Again, if you guys can just come over here and just share in terms of the point of view and then insights as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, अच्छा, so we directly worked on this point of view wala section, and so in the user story, it was like we interviewed a tech filer, which meant the process is very complex and requires a lot of data gathering. Secondly, it's about the perception created, uh, which is the same that the process is very gruesome and the utilization of tax money is not satisfactory. कि पता ही नहीं चलता कि कहाँ tax money का क्या हुआ है. We were surprised to notice that the documents required to submit the tax department, that's a whole lot of list of documents that are required. Uh, the tax Acha, tax induction is not mandatory and that there is no strict measures taken for people not opting to get into a tax net. So this was also surprising for us, कि भाई इन करना नहीं करना तो कोई हर्ज नहीं है. So it should not be the case perhaps. So this was a surprising factor for us. Actually, in the next section, it says we wonder what this means. So this means making the process easier would encourage people to pay taxes. अगर process को हम बेहतर बनाएं, आसान बनाएं, so this will help in increasing our tax net. Showing where the tax money is allocated would be helpful and would show transparency as well. So as Ali mentioned, कि भाई New Zealand में they actually show you कि tax कहाँ आपका लगा है, funds कहाँ allocate हुए हैं. So if that could be the process over here as well, this would encourage people to pay the taxes. Would be game changing too. So finally, in a nutshell, क्या चीजें करने की जरूरत है? Digitalizing the process. So process को digitalize कर दें. So this will help in getting the job done. So I myself, I make most of my payments using the digital network. So I use a mobile application for almost any and everything that I pay. तो अगर वहीं से ही मैं शॉर्टलिस्ट करना चाहूँ कि मैंने जो जो पेमेंट्स की हैं जिनको मैं टैक्स नेट पे शो करना चाहता हूँ, तो अगर मैं वहीं से ही दिखा दूँ या फिर वही डाटा डायरेक्टली शेयर हो जाए एफसीआर के साथ, so this will help in making the process easier. Secondly, showing transparency as to where the tax money is allocated. So yes, then again, when I submit my taxes, I should be getting a response from the government organization letting me know that, bhai, okay, you paid this much tax and your tax was allocated in these sectors or stuff like that. So perhaps this is something that we worked on, not as great as uh, क्या नाम है आपका जुबैरी, but this is what we did.
No, this is really good. I just wanted to share something similar we just recently did with Ubank. Where I mentioned earlier that we have a fintech startup. Ubank का चैलेंज ये था कि जिस वक्त एक कस्टमर बैंक के अंदर जाता है और वो लोन के लिए अप्लाई करता है मैनुअली, एक वो फॉर्म फिल करता है फॉर अ लोन, it takes about 45 days for processing. So what they actually wanted us to do was wanted us to use artificial intelligence and whatever means necessary to reduce that lead time from 45 days to 4 days. So we employed design thinking. We interviewed the user. We interviewed the actual tellers जो पीछे बैठे हुए होते हैं कि वो process कैसे कर रहे हैं. We interviewed because they're middleman or evaluators as well. So when you apply for a loan और आपने कहा कि जी मेरे पास 10 बकरियां और इस 10 बकरियों के अगेंस्ट मुझे इतने का लोन चाहिए, दे आर मिडलमैन और एवेल्युएटर्स जो जाते हैं और वो बकरी को एवेल्युएट करते हैं. वन ऑफ द मोस्ट कॉमन काइंड्स ऑफ फ्रॉड. सो दो तीन तरह का फ्रॉड होता है यहाँ पर. एक ये होता है कि मेरे मेरे भाई की शक्ल मेरे से बहुत मिलती है, मैंने उसका शनाख्ती कार्ड लिया, आई वेंट टू द बैंक और मैंने कहा कि जी ये मुझे लोन दे दें, एंड बिकॉज देर इज नो वेरिफिकेशन सिस्टम ओवर देयर, दैट्स द फर्स्ट काइंड ऑफ फ्रॉड, एंड डेफिनेटली द बैड डेट रेशियो ओवर देयर इज वेरी हाई. द सेकेंड काइंड ऑफ फ्रॉड इज कि मैं कहता हूँ कि अच्छा ये मुझे मेरी इतनी बकरियां बेची हैं, मैं एक माइक्रो फाइनेंस बैंक के पास जाता हूँ, उनसे लोन लेता हूँ, वही बकरियां मैं दूसरे माइक्रो फाइनेंस बैंक के पास लेके जाता हूँ और कहता हूँ कि जी ये मुझे इधर से भी लोन चाहिए. सो दैट वाज द सेकंड प्रॉब्लम. थर्ड प्रॉब्लम वाज दैट द इवैल्यूएशन, दैट्स वेरी टाइम कंज्यूमिंग प्रोसेस बिकॉज फर्स्ट इवैल्यूएटर्स गो ओवर देयर, वो फिर वहाँ जाके वेरीफाई करते हैं, वो भी मैनुअल मीन से वेरीफाई करते हैं, देयर इज नो टेक्नोलॉजी इन्वॉल्व. फोर्थली बेसिकली अब होता क्या है कि फिर मैं क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री निकलवाता हूँ एक कस्टमर की, दिस इज द टेलर पार्ट. वो क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री आती है, उसके फिर डिस्क्रिपेंसी लिस्ट बनती है, फिर डिस्क्रिपेंसी लिस्ट के ऊपर आफ्टर अ पीरियड ऑफ 40 days मैं वापस कस्टमर को कॉल करता हूँ, कहते हैं यार ये इन्फॉर्मेशन कंप्लीट नहीं है, डॉक्यूमेंट शेयर कर दो. दिस इज हाउ द प्रोसेस वाज ब्रोकन. हाउ वी फिक्स्ड इट and we reduced that process from 45 days to 4 days was that the first thing is which was the liveness test. So ID card के ऊपर जो fraud हो रहा होता था, we installed a camera over there which is a live camera जो live using vision AI वो verification कर रहे हैं of both your ID card and your face. That's the first check, right? The second check that we installed over there was that हमने बैक एंड जो CIB है APIs इंटीग्रेशन के थ्रू हमने क्रेडिट हिस्ट्री और वो इंफॉर्मेशन फेच कर ली. द थर्ड चेक वाज जहाँ पे डिले होता था कि मेरे पास अब दिन के 100 एप्लीकेशंस आ गई हैं एंड एज अ डेटा एंट्री और पर्सन मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है, मैं डिले करके वो हफ्ता हफ्ता डिले हो रही हैं और मैं वो डेटा एंट्री कर रहा हूँ उसके लिए. वी ऑटोमेटेड दैट प्रोसेस यूजिंग OCR टेक्नोलॉजी, simply taking an image of that particular handwritten note and उससे हम fetch करके और वो fill out कर रहे थे. There was a need of a manual person filling that out, but the accuracy rate or the efficiency increased by about 75% in that particular process. So utilizing all of this empathy map, here similarly evaluators, how did we overcome that? So we simply created tablets and वो tablets जो हैं वो उस जगह पे जाके और using again face recognition. So each cattle they have unique markers on their face and their body. So जितने भी whether that's a cow, whether that's a goat, every animal has a unique marker, unique identification marker in AI, which can be used to identify that particular animal. So we deployed that. So right now the deployment is complete, and now we're looking at other possible solutions. So from a context point of view, we actually use the same process to actually find out हर step के ऊपर कि what are the challenges and how do we solve them. So basically what we did, nahin, so basically what the idea behind it was, कि let's say for example जो यूबैंक के पास जो बेनिफिशियरी आ रहा है, a lot of these beneficiary programs are linked. So जो microfinance network है पाकिस्तान का, that's also linked as well. There can be a central database. So what we pitched was that we create a central database. तो जब भी एक वो आ रहा है, हम वो उसकी cattle का data सारा system के अंदर डालते जाएं. So it's going to be cross-checked next time he goes over there to get it verified or apply for a loan. Apart from cattle, there is also दो और methods हैं जो collateral use होते हैं. एक तो deed is very common और deed in a lot of cases उर्दू के अंदर होती है. So that's again a challenge कि उर्दू के अंदर वो verify कैसे करें. तो वो land records because पंजाब में digitize हो चुके हैं, right? So using those digitized land records, we can fetch that information. The second is gold. So gold के ऊपर भी बहुत ज़्यादा होता है, and gold की authenticity that can also be used checked from actual vision AI technology as well. So these are the three steps, and we kind of automated it, but we utilize the same process. So that's kind of similar to what you guys are describing over here. That's why I thought I'd share that. Anything in particular that you guys want to add? Because I think.
So basically what we did, we went through the previous experience and we tried to solve it. How can it be easier? So first thing, I started with the happiness, like we gave him education through content creation related to tax in both mediums, in Urdu and English, so that user can understand what is tax. So the benefit was that he couldn't he can understand what tax is, how to solve it and all that. But he was still happy that when finding out he still has to pay a lot of tax regarding his company and all that. But the benefit was that he doesn't have to pay the consultancy fees and legal fees since he is educated and knows how to do it and where to do it and all that. So can save the money. But the bad thing is like now after digitalizing, the whole process is very lengthy and all that, and it's time consuming and takes up a lot of time. So it ended in the bad terms. That's all.
I really like the part where where you mentioned the awareness, right, or education or educating the customer. I think this is something that the other two teams they kind of missed out on, and this is something that even the government can specifically work on as well. I'll just go on the ideate part. We'll just try to cover this up quickly. And tomorrow specifically, we're going to have some specifically in terms of execution, right? So because they're going to be team-based activities, and there'll be so this is something which was conducted by Harvard and Stanford both in terms of just trying to gauge what a entrepreneurial mindset is. So I'll come to that later, but for now, so in terms of ideation, so maybe whenever I'm thinking of a particular what do you call solution, I'm always thinking about the bigger picture, right? So I don't kind of limit myself based on the resources that I have. And ideation is generally a player activity. So player and focus, jo hai, we were talking about that earlier as well. So there are things where you have to expand as much as you can in terms of all the possible outcomes that can be there for that particular user. Then you focus, अच्छा इसके में से दो सबसे बड़े कौन से हैं that I solve. उसके बाद then you talk about further ideation, कि what are the big ideas in my product? What are the extraordinary things that I can do that would be my unique value proposition? So few things. So in terms of that ideation, right? So अब जब concept के ऊपर आते हैं, so this is how the engineer from General Electric, he basically described his concept. So he wanted to make the scanning experience fun for his daughter, who was a cancer patient. The product service name was, they decided to call it, instead of calling it a hospital, they decided to call it Adventure Kingdom. And they target users, so they've got young cancer patients. The intended impact was that they wanted to turn the hospital visit as an adventure for the young users which were visiting. And the key function that their product or their idea was providing was that they created a sense of adventure. And then you have yes and, right? So what are the other things that you can basically ideate or think about? So in terms of the activity, right? So how they went about it and how this is normally done in design thinking is you've got the basic concept in place. But apart from the basic concept, each team member puts up one idea. Yeah, this is going to be a game-changing idea. Ye karna chahiye hame. So you've got these three basic ideas, and then you brainstorm on those ideas, on that one idea जो हर team member ने provide किया है. So that would give you a list of pros and cons. Let's say, for example, the idea is great, but there's some problems in execution. So it would give you a list of pros and cons. And then you ask basically these questions to yourself. And these are also very important, which is, what would you do if you had $1 million? Because a lot of times what I've seen is that as startups, we limit ourselves based on the funding that we have. यार ये तो हम कर ही नहीं सकते, तो लिहाजा इसको डालने का फायदा क्या है? It could be part of your roadmap, because as entrepreneurs, when you go for fundraising, the VC funds are not looking for कि आपने perfectly execute किया हुआ फिर ही आपको पैसे देंगे. They're looking for the strength in your idea. And if you can prove to them in less than 2 minutes that your idea is absolutely flawless and it is the next big idea, you'll have a really good chance. For example, airlift, उन्होंने एक टिश्यू पेपर के ऊपर अपना आइडिया जॉट डाउन किया था. That was the first pre-seed round that they actually raised was through that. So it's very important if you could do magic, and the reason for that is, like, let's say, for example, let's take the idea of Elon Musk. If I ask you guys what is the most revolutionary thing that Elon Musk has done, what would that be? Self-driving software. Anything else? Sorry? PayPal. Sorry? Memes. Rockets. What about rockets? Space में जाना लेकिन वापस लेकर आना. Right? All of these ideas, these are things that no one had ever thought about. And अगर आप उस तरह देखें, these are things के जो आप कहेंगे कि यार, if I could do magic, तो मैं ये करता. Rocket जाए लेकिन उसी तरह वापस आए और मैं reuse कर सकूं. This is a crazy idea. A normal sane mind is limited from his work. यार ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, right? Similarly, Hyperloop, while it's not in terms of execution, it's not fully executed, but it's an absolutely revolutionary, disruptive idea, right? So at the end of the day, आप जो problem solve कर रहे हैं ना, because a lot of people वो छोटी-छोटी you can bring about little innovations in your product and actually make it stand out from the rest of your competition as well. So that's what this particular activity is about. And then describing your concept, right? So similar to what the GE alumni did, like Adventure Kingdom, right? The intended audience. So you would know कि आपकी intended audience जो है जिसके लिए आप ये product बना रहे हैं वो कौन सी है, what will be the intended impact, and what is the one key function that it's serving. So this is something that I think we can kind of do this particular activity tomorrow. But I'd just like to basically talk about this, like अभी आज की जो हमारी learnings, I just wanted to kind of get कि अगर आपने इसको implement करना हो for your particular company, are there any insights that you inferred कि यार यहाँ पर struggle करें, maybe I can apply the design thinking approach over here to identify or understand what the pain points are, or any other feedback that you have from this. Yeah. Sir, हम लोग so one of my startups is actually bootstrapped. We bootstrapped it for the last 5 years. We're revenue positive now, and I feel like with one of the latest contracts that we have, we won't have to raise because that will kind of provide us the runway to kind of scale it further as well. So I do know हम लोग तो रोजाना बैठते हैं, and this is literally, it's like you don't want to be part of that board of director meeting because we literally at each other's throats about, okay, this is what's wrong with the product, this is the feedback that we're getting. हम market में गए बेचने के लिए, उन्होंने ये बात कर दी. हम VC फंड के पास गए, VC फंड ने कहा कि यार ये तो इतनी सारी चीजें तुम कर रहे हो, इसके अंदर एक चीज क्या कर सकते हो, ये तो ट्रेनिंग के अंदर बहुत ज्यादा टाइम लगेगा. Constantly challenging each other because we know okay, otherwise we won't be able to stay competitive. And we were also able to scale from 7 employees to now 55 employees. We've recently secured a contract with Saudi Aramco. This is a pilot project. I would like to think that we're the only Pakistani AI company to be able to secure a pilot project with them. But if if the pilot project succeeds, then we'll be able to expand it and scale it as well. What about I also want to hear from you. Like, how would you implement it in your startup or your company?
Implement what? Design thinking. So first of all, the same as it goes, what I understood was that I need to first understand how should I empathize with my users. How should I go from there and understand them? And then I will see that once I understood that the user wants this, I will figure out that this is how I should do it and this is how I should start. Once I have figured that out, then I'll make a plan and process it through. Yeah, that's the plan for now. But first thing is like, my startup is like a Speedway. It's a online based platform where we give all restaurants the capability to launch their own branded website and application. Yeah, so that's we give them the platform so that they can put their menu, prices, and all that. Something like that. Yeah. And plus, they will have the whole full access of the customer data and everything to from them. Yeah.
Thank you. So that's it for today. I think tomorrow we're going to be talking about how we can kind of utilize this material. Another thing that I'll also do is there's actually a lot of material that Stanford D School shares that you can use to conduct your own trainings and sessions, right? And then whenever you're kind of confused about, अच्छा यार इस activity के अंदर, what other things can I look for specifically? So those are kind of flashcards which we have. So at the end of this session, I think Amna is going to be sharing those flashcards with all of you so that you can also conduct those design thinking sessions with your own company. As a case study, just wanted to another implementation, Jazz ke andar, so how I learned design thinking and how I've been implementing it. Jazz started a train the trainer program on design thinking specifically using Stanford D School material. They trained all the department heads and all the departments in design thinking, and then it was implemented across the board. And एक project identify हुआ हर department के अंदर जो कि using design thinking they're going to implement and fix problems that they're facing. And then the progress was tracked in terms of what is the financial or business impact of implementing design thinking. So that's something that we did. Similarly, for short video platform as well, that's also where we did this. And now most latest is for Alibaba that we're utilizing this to kind of be ahead of the market and do a lot of user research as well. Perfect. Thank you so much for coming and sorry for being late. Tomorrow we'll again be starting at 3 and it's just going to be a 3 hour session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.